everybody, Teacher Source here. I wanted to take a second to show you my new nonfiction reading unit. It is called New Information is Key, and it is 16 lessons that are going to be focusing on main idea and details, synthesizing text, and summarizing narrative nonfiction. If you use my Unit 1, beginning my reading journey, it's very similar to that, as it will say, the lesson and the lesson name, and then the page numbers you can click on to locate them in the PDF. So in this unit, we're going to be working on predicting with nonfiction, main idea and details with different organizers, setting a reading goal, doing some stopping and jotting, some book talks, connecting a restaurant review with doing a book review, talking about narrative nonfiction and how you summarize that a little bit differently than traditional nonfiction, synthesizing between narrative nonfiction and nonfiction, revisiting the goal setting. There's a super fun culminating project, post-test, celebration. So every single lesson has a Google link and also has a Seesaw link. So for example, this day for Seesaw, if you click on the activity, it is going to show up restaurant review, and then you as a teacher can save the activity, and then the kids can go in and add text boxes and things to utilize the organizers. And that goes for Google Classroom as well. The text boxes are already laid out in the Google links. So how this is a little bit different though is because, we all have our topics that our class enjoys, the interests that our class enjoys. So I kind of leave it as a framework. So for the pre-test, I've provided the organizers to do main idea and detail, and then synthesizing between two texts and summarizing, and then growing an idea, like what, they're wondering about or thinking about. And it is up to you as the teacher to choose the nonfiction text or article that you want to use and the narrative nonfiction. There are tons of books out there on YouTube. I'm sure you as a teacher have options in your library that you can utilize for this assessment. So I kind of leave it up to you as the teacher. There is a pre and post test rubric, so each student, and this is in Google links as well, each student will be having this organizer where you can put in their pre-test data and their post-test data, which goes to a celebration at the end of the unit. So that way you can really hone in on the standards that you're working on and then give them grades, especially for standard-based reporting. So predictions, we're talking about looking at a book. What do you predict it's going to be about? They do some modeling. You do modeling, and then you do independent practice. Each lesson is structured to have a focus, the mini lesson or the guided practice for 15 or so minutes, the independent practice, and then an accountable talk. So it's like that gradual release process, the I do, we do, and then you do, and then some accountable talk at the end. The students are utilizing organizers to do main idea and details with boxes and bullets, the main idea hand, looking at certain sentences that stand out to help them figure out what the main idea is. This is an article about school in 2020. And then looking at articles where they have to use the ideas to teach somebody else by utilizing main idea and details. So this is an article I wrote about dogs, that they're going to utilize that to then teach somebody else about dogs by kind of like honing in on main idea and details. And then they're going to research their own topic from different options of Nat Geo Kid books online, where they're going to research a topic and then try to teach somebody else about it by utilizing the main idea and details hand. And they're going to kind of stop and think about how they've been doing with the main idea and details and set a goal for themselves. They're going to be stopping and jotting when they've learned new information, when they see a diagram or a picture that's important to them, when they learn a new word. And this is just kind of like helping them kind of start to annotate and really think about the books when they're reading them, specifically nonfiction. They're going to utilize that same organizer to do a little bit of a book talk. I have connected doing a restaurant review, so they're going to review a restaurant they've been to, and then I've connected it to then, in turn, doing it for a book that they've read, specifically nonfiction. After that, we do a focus on narrative nonfiction. There are two links here. The True Story of Ivan, that is the narrative nonfiction version, and it's a YouTube read aloud, and then there's a nonfiction book about gorillas, and they're going to utilize those two texts to kind of see what they've learned in both, and then what's similar between them two. This is alluding to the synthesizing. They're going to also then utilize some narrative nonfiction books to work on summarizing. So narrative nonfiction is different than nonfiction because it's told in more of a story way. So you're trying to get the point across that sometimes with nonfiction we utilize like main idea and details, but then when we have a narrative nonfiction, it more goes into like a structure of a story to summarize. Then they're going to be working on synthesizing between two different texts to really get the main idea of both texts together. They're going to revisit their goal setting and reflect on that. This end of the unit culminating project is, let me scroll down, it's all digital as well. The students have the option to choose an appetizer, main dish, and dessert, and these are different activities that go along with the standards you've either focused on in this unit or they should be familiar with. And they can choose either like one of each, you can have them do all of them, whatever you decide. And then you can utilize this rubric to put the scores in for either all the assignments or if they just chose one of each dish. So there's lots of different, and then there's a rubric that you can utilize for all of the different activities that the students do. And then also there is a Google Slides recording sheet so that you can put the student's name, how they did on all the activities, and then the standards are listed there down below, so it's really easy for grading purposes. The activities included a 3-2-1, going on a vocabulary hunt, scavenger hunt for nonfiction books, creating a quiz for a nonfiction book, doing different facts they learned from a nonfiction book, synthesizing main idea and details, a timeline activity, a book review. And then we come to the post-test. And the post-test is very similar to the pre-test. It's exactly the same. And again, you are choosing the text, or if you want to use the same text to really show the growth, you can from pre to post. And then at the end of the unit, there's just a little bit of a celebration where you would either fill in or have your students fill in how they did on the pre-test, how they did on the post-test, and then they're going to reflect what they did well on and what they want to get better at continuing going further. Please let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you listening, and good luck this school year.